Welcome to episode 22. Today is a fun episode. Today we're going to talk about what most of the people want. They want to have a ripped six-pack.
Or eight-pack.
Or eight-pack, whatever, four-pack. We'll talk about how to get a good, strong, and visually appealing abdominal wall.
Well, let me ask you something first, Aram. Why do people want to have a six-pack or an eight-pack?
I personally think it is a highly attractive trait that humans have, and just by looking at it, it makes you visually very attractive.
Okay.
Yeah? So for most of the reasons people want to have it is for the reasons of attraction. That attracts the other sex.
Ego.
Or if you want to attract the same sex, then it attracts the same sex too.
Or it threatens the same sex.
Or threaten the same sex.
There you go.
So ultimately it creates a vision of power.
That's right.
And the power is attractive.
It's an armor. You ever guys remember back into the Egyptian, go back into my history files. The Greek and the Roman suit of armor they used to wear, the chest plates. Well, those are the chest plates, yeah, they exaggerate the size of your pecs, and they exaggerate the thickness and the leanness of the abdominals, because that in itself was a way to intimidate their opposing team.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So how do we do it, man? How do we do it?
We have to do thousands and thousands of repetitions of crunches.
Now let's talk about strategies. Generally people think of, to get abdominals, you need to do a lot of crunches. And we do have an issue with that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You might have to do thousands of crunches if you add them out throughout the year. All the workouts that you did. Otherwise there's no reason to do thousands of repetitions of anything. Would you do thousands of repetitions of squats? Would you?
If it promised me a good six-pack, I probably will attempt at least.
No, that'd be silly and misguiding the audience. if you wouldn't do 1,000 squats, why would you in hell do 1,000 crunches?
Well, let's put it like this. There's a different strategies. Some people try to do a lot of crunches to get abdominal wall. In most of the cases it doesn't work. In many cases it creates a lot of problems.
Well, if you go back to our previous episode about back pain, that's one of the reasons that a lot of people that actually work out often, they have back pain because they overtrain the abdominals, which already can create a form of a stretch, which is called structural stress due to the bad posture. Because the muscle, when you actually activate a muscle for many repetitions, it will become short and tight. Given that the abdominals, the rectus abdominis, that's the one that we pretty much see all the time in the front, is a postural muscle, well guess what? You just made the postural muscle short and tight, which is going to take you out of posture, and it can actually change the curvature in your spine and give you back pain.
So as we talk always about balance, anytime that you train one muscle compared to opposite muscle,
right,
you're going to create an imbalance. And anytime you train more of your abdominals, then you create opposing back extensors, then you're going to create a problem of continuous flexion, which over a period of time can transfer in back pain.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
You're overtraining a trunk flexor and perhaps undertraining a trunk extensor.
So we would say no to a lot of crunches. Let's talk about what you can do to get a better abdominal wall.
Well, the first thing to be able to have your abdominals show is that you have to have a very lean midsection. Well, the first question that might arise is like, why is your midsection not lean? Well, in most cases it's because you have a lot of inflammation. And inflammation comes from the inside out. We're not talking about inflammation of the superficial layer of your dermis or epidermis. We're talking about inflammation at the digestive level. When your stomach, your small intestine and large intestine, they actually inflame because you're not eating the right foods, or because you have way too much stress, more than you can handle, and it's actually showing off in the form of bloating of the midsection. So that itself will erase the showing of your muscles.
So that kind of stress can create the following problem. It can create a bloating, so you're literally your abdominal wall pushed out and it does not want to contract.
That's one.
Yeah. And number two, it can actually create an inflammation that will come out as a water weight or fat weight right on top of the musculature. So remember, there's two things, and one you can have fat on top, another one you can have something literally pushing your tummy out.
Both, and there's many more that.
And sometimes you can have just both.
At the same time.
At the same time.
At the same time, you can have blood sugar control issues, and guess what? Insulin resistance. How will it manifest? Because your midsection begins to blow out of proportion.
So one thing is important to understand about getting a good looking abdominal musculature is to first address the eating. So go back to past episodes, metabolic topping, holistic nutrition 101, listen to it, and make sure you do things better than you do right now.
For sure.
As soon as the inflammation is gone, the job becomes a whole lot easier.
Indeed it does.
Yeah?
Because you will not be hanging on to body fat that the body has there as a means of protection.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Now, number two, exercise-wise.
Exercise, you have to treat your abdominals like you will literally treat any other muscle in your body. It's going to need certain amount of sets under a certain amount of repetitions, and that will be periodized through weeks in and weeks out of the month.
So it's not that you got to do abdominal exercises all the time, like every day.
Because as a matter of fact, if you were to ask anybody that has any idea of how to do really strengthening of the abdominals, will let you know that the best abdominal exercise is going to be your deadlifts and your squats. Go figure, because none of those exercises require you to do flexion or extension to a degree, of course, and they happen to be the muscles themselves, because they have tested this with EMG grabs, and they know that when you activate your abdominal wall under load, doing squats and deadlifts and pull-ups and stuff like that, that abdominal wall contracts and those muscles independently contract a lot stronger than when you do specific exercises, they isolate the function of those muscles.
Because ultimately your body's trying to protect your lower back. So you want it, you don't want it.
Absolutely. That's the job of those muscles, literally, to protect your spine.
So ultimately it's a protection mechanism.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of exercise? Generally some sort of a loading exercises.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do like 1,000 of crunches. You want to do maybe more like 8 repetitions or 10 repetitions.
Or up to 15 to 30.
Or up to 15 repetitions of a heavier weight.
Well, it all, like
or your body weight. Yeah.
Like I mentioned before, it has to do with periodization. You cannot do the same type of training week in and week out through a season or through a year and expect those muscles to change. They will adapt very, very quickly, especially those muscles, and you will not see any changes. So you might have to do workouts where you are required to do more repetitions, and some of them you'll do with few sets, and some of them you'll do very few repetitions, 1, 2, 3, 5 repetitions with an incredibly amount of intensity, because that's how you're going to get the body to oscillate those variables, so you keep getting stronger. And if your intention is to develop muscle hypertrophy, well, guess what? You will have to work on a rep range and a set, set range that will actually be promoting that kind of findings, to get muscle hypertrophy. If you're working for strength, it's a different story. If you're working for endurance, it's a different story. So it depends what you're actually trying to attain. Most people, they just want to see the abdominals, and well, that's easy. You don't have to do a lot of abdominal work because the muscles, they're already there. And I've proved this to people over and over. If they can flex the muscles, you'll be able to feel the ripples of the rectus abdominis, because the muscle is there. All you need to do is get rid of whatever is making those muscles appear, which is typically body fat and inflammation and water retention, etc. So it's not that difficult.
Yeah. I want to touch up on 2 points specifically. Point number 1 is a lot of times, since we would want to get rid of fat on top of your abdominal wall, people always think the fat is going to make you fat. And if you refer again to our past episodes, we talked about that the fat is not necessarily going to make you fat. The higher chance is that the sugar is going to make you fat. So it's important to create a steady blood sugar throughout the day. That helps you with inflammation and other things like that. So don't think that eating fat is going to make you fat.
No, it's eating the wrong kind of fat.
Eating wrong time and maybe a wrong amount of fat. I mean, if you honestly eat a lot of fat, you're probably going to get fat.
Well,
there's a possibility.
There's a lot of variables in there, yes. But if you're eating, for example, the way that we guide our clients and friends and family and ourselves, if you eat a lot of polyunsaturated fats, you're going to get bloated out of your mind, because the body does not know what to do with them. And they're an inflammatory agent to the body. If you eat very healthy, clean, coming from free-range animals, saturated fat, well, guess what? Your body's going to love that, because that is like we spoke on a previous episode about revving up your sex life, that's what the body's going to take all the sources to manufacture and